So Linda was at the hospital.
Linda?
Yeah.
We are live now.
Okay.
Set timer for 35 minutes.
She just comes over here
Okay, 35 minutes.
and drops a hot one and
Well.
walks away.
She takes after her father, being me.
Dog farts.
Nice.
Oh, God.
That's a good one.
Oh, stinky one. Oof.
Ain't nothing but a dog fart,
I
Nicole.
can't believe she just farted and left and went inside.
She crop dusted you, like me in Walmart. Okay, so
Hey.
good morning,
hi.
everybody. Hopefully everything's working properly.
Nothing ever works.
No, it works sometimes.
Oh, there you are.
It's me marching off after crop dusting. Okay, happy Friday, everybody. So Nicole is still recovering. You may have heard she had a little bout with
Or
appendicitis.
you may not have heard.
And C. diff.
So last Friday,
Yeah.
we're doing our show, happy, happy, happy. Oh, I was in such a great mood. Little did I know that as the day went on, I would slowly deteriorate.
It would all go downhill from there.
And we went to go see Logan. I was like, we're gonna go see Logan, even though I'm in excruciating pain.
Yeah.
We're going to see this movie.
Well, we thought it was gas pains at the
Yeah.
time. So
I didn't
I
want
was like,
to.
look, just fart.
I
go to the bathroom.
Honestly, I didn't want to pay $500 for a fart.
Yeah,
Go
that's
to-
an expensive fart.
It's a very expensive ER fart. But then when it got to about 1 a.m. and I was still writhing in pain, and I realized this is different, I drove myself to the ER.
It's, we talked about the family stuff in the past. It's
Yeah.
really tricky, and we're trying to figure it out now because we don't have family
No
that's
video,
around
lost
here.
video.
Really?
Everybody said lost video.
Oh, well, let me go look and see if it's something on my end. Oh, weird. I see. It's black.
Yeah,
Well, what the heck happened?
I don't know. It's your equipment.
It's my janky equipment.
They can hear us. They just don't see us.
All right, let me unplug something and plug it back in.
Weird.
Yeah, hang on. I'm just.
The dog fart must have killed the connection.
That's what it was. But they still have audio?
Yeah, they have.
This is going to
audio.
be a very interesting show.
There we go.
Is it back?
Well, I see it on your screen. I don't know.
Well, keep an eye over there just in case.
There we go.
What? It went black again.
Wow.
This is not cool, y'all.
We just had a lot of forces against us this week.
Yeah, this is not panning out. It's weird. I don't know why it's doing it,
Yeah.
but every time I hit record, it does it.
Well, then don't hit record.
Which means we're not going to have the recorded
And
version
that's,
today.
And that's all right.
It's all right, but it doesn't make any sense.
Well, figure it out on your own time.
That's a bunch of lame juice right there. All right, well, no recorded version today. Sorry. You're stuck with this janky live
Hey,
captured version. Anyway, let's get to the short end of the story.
I had my appendix removed.
Yeah.
So I have 3 new scars. What a weird process that is. And then I found out I had C. diff, and I spent 5 days in the hospital. Mm-hmm. So that is something you don't want to mess around with.
No.
It is evil.
And I know what I was saying. The parenting thing. You
Yeah.
got 2 kids in bed sleeping at home. Wife needs to get to
1
the
a.m.
ER. Honestly, you were in pain, but you were able. It wasn't like it was completely unsafe for you to drive.
No, yeah. But
But I didn't. Who wants?
But the nurses at the ER were like, "You drove yourself here."
Where's your husband? What a loser. Dump that 0. Get with a hero.
I'm all by myself. Like, oh.
Yeah. So that sucked. All right. But let's get into a little more positivity. So she's feeling better.
Yeah.
Kids are still
Yeah.
getting sick.
I'm-
It's a mess. This household is germ trading.
I'm here. That's all.
Yeah.
I got discharged yesterday, so
Okay.
I thought I'd just sit here and chat with you guys.
Just chat and throw me questions. I don't have
Drink
any
some
Patreon questions today, so everything's going to come from the live chat. But I did just post something on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, showing you a picture of various boards and asking which one do you think has the polyurethane. And there's a lesson to be learned in this, and I will tilt the camera down and show you my 4 sample boards. And Nicole, I'm curious.
I just want to give a shout out to everybody that took care of me at Swedish Medical. They're amazing. They were amazing. So.
Did they serve you fish while you were there?
What?
Swedish fish.
No. They just saved my life.
That's all?
They just saved my life, that's
Nicole,
all.
look at these 4 boards.
Yeah.
Which one or 2 out of these 4, which ones do you think have polyurethane and which ones have traditional varnish?
I don't care.
Nicole.
I don't. I don't.
Get your head in the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to read the ends and say.
No. Don't ruin the ending. So if you guys were to look at these, what would you say? I think most people would say that this board and maybe this board probably have the polyurethane on it. Well, I got news for y'all. These 2 have a urethane. These 2 have Waterlox. So this is Waterlox high gloss. This is Waterlox sealer. Both of these are high quality, really expensive varnish products. The 2 in the middle are Armor Seal and Minwax Wipe on Poly. Both of those contain urethane. And a lot of people have this whole sort of perspective on this. And I found this out when I was posting updates on what I'm doing here. I hate polyurethane. Polyurethane sucks. It looks like plastic. I'll never use, Minwax Wipe on Poly because it looks so artificial and plasticky. And I got to tell you, if I were to pick just from what I see here, which 2 boards are the most attractive to me, it would be these 2. So the real point here is when people say that they don't like plastic looking finishes, what they're saying is they don't like thick films that are of a high gloss.
See, I like that.
Now, I'm not saying that you don't like it. There's no winners or losers here.
Yeah.
It's a matter of preference. What I'm questioning is the people who say, I will never use Wipe on Poly because I don't like the plasticky look.
Oh, gotcha.
So these boards in the center here are actually a satin formulation because that's what I buy. I don't usually get high gloss. Of course, Waterlox high gloss is high gloss. That's what it has to be. It's what it's sold as. And their original sealer is what they call a medium sheen, kind of a semi-gloss. All right, so I think people are looking at sheen and assuming, throwing poly under the bus in a sense to say this stuff sucks because it's plastic. Well, guess what? Any varnish is still a resin when it's all dried. And if you compile layers and layers of that resin, it's going to look really shiny and potentially fake looking. All right,
well,
that's
hello,
where
Millie.
The artificial thing comes from. All right, so this I thought was a very interesting lesson. Again, it doesn't say that Waterlox is bad or that these are better. It's just saying that it's a question of what the sheen does to people's first impression of a finish. Okay, so that's one of the things I wanted to talk about.
I actually like this one the best.
The Waterlox sealer.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, but what you're looking at and telling me you like is a particular sheen.
Right.
So if I went out and bought, let's say, Minwax or Armor Seal in a shinier formulation, it would look like that. So that's kind of my point that I'm trying to make to people. Like, just because it's called polyurethane doesn't mean it's going to look like your grandmom's polyurethane coffee table.
Right.
So
in the Minwax commercials.
Yes, exactly.
Or the pledge. Sorry, the pledge. The pledge.
And I'm just saying yes, exactly, because I'm agreeing with you, no matter what you say. So.
Do you remember when we first met? I was cleaning the house, and I grew up, and we just had pledge.
By the way, that was the last time she cleaned the house. So. Oh, what a great day that was. Good times.
But when you dust, you use pledge, and you sprayed pledge, and you wiped it off.
Put schmutz on it.
That's
what most people did,
that's
right?
That's what you do.
And now we just use
and he's like,
slightly damp
What
cloths.
are you doing?
That's okay. Some people use it, but I prefer not to. All right, so that's lesson number 1. Do we have any questions or comments?
We just got a super.
on that?
Oh, on this?
Well, whatever.
I got super chat,
let's
but
take a
let
couple
me
of
just
questions.
make sure there's no questions on that. Marc,
Yes.
Yamaha biker. Marc, I can't remember if you do not stir a satin, can you make it look glossy?
Yeah, satin formulations, they basically have a thing called flatteners in it, and they're just little particles that scatter the light. Those will generally settle out of the finish. So if you don't mix your cans and just pour off the top, you will get a shinier finish, which is why if you do want the satin or the semi-gloss, you've got to mix really well and continue to mix throughout, because if you don't, just in the course of applying that finish, you may have a more satin finish at the start and a more glossy finish toward the end if you don't keep it stirred.
So E. Kochman 17, super chat.
Super chat.
Spend on quality clamps, or is cheap plus more fine?
It depends on the clamp.
Yeah.
If it's, when I was at the William Ing School, he had a wall of Harbor Freight clamps, but they were all these smaller, tiny F-style clamps. And these are ones that you don't usually need a lot of pressure, but you could use a lot of them, right? This is a good candidate for cheap. But if you're going for your larger, heavier duty clamps, something with, deep throat like this, or, easy. Parallel clamps, anything that's gonna have a lot of pressure applied to it that you may not need lots of, but you want really good quality versions, those are the ones that I would go for quality. Man, I hate when these things get stuck.
I mean, do clamps ever just
Break?
go bad?
Yeah, well, because you're applying a lot of pressure here. So the more pressure you apply, you've got a handle that could strip out. You've got a threaded rod that could strip out.
Plastic maybe that could break.
You've got components here. This rotates on sort of a ball joint, so that's something that could break. So there's a lot of places it can go wrong. I'm gonna fight with this thing later because it's not coming loose.
Is it moisture or what's causing it to do that?
Oh, well, this is when you keep your clamps closed like this, if you don't have enough of the clamp, head protruding when you tighten it down on itself,
yeah.
I can't get it down low enough to disengage the little knobbies on the end. You know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
So usually what you do is hit it on the ground.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, I'm gonna fight with that thing later.
Are they all like that?
No, you see some of them have more space, so I can loosen it,
Oh, okay.
and now it comes down.
Yeah.
That's just me not thinking.
Storing them properly.
Correct,
Yes.
Nicole.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions?
No, I mean, I remember you used to have a ton of pipe clamps too.
Yeah, they're right there.
I mean, those are cheap. You just get a pipe and.
Pipe clamps are good as a good inexpensive way to get long clamping done. Yeah. So, anything else before I go on to my next little update here?
Let's see. Buy what you. Bill in the chat room said clamps. Buy what you need, then save for higher quality. You still use those cheap clamps. I'll guarantee it.
Yeah, he's got a good point. You
Yeah.
don't usually throw your clamps away. You just put them on the side and go, well, when I really need more, I've got those there.
Yep.
Okay, we're good?
Yeah, I mean, I'll grab questions. I'll let you do since you have something planned. I'll throw these questions to the side.
Yeah, by the way, all of this stuff I'm talking about with these finishes is going to be part of a upcoming video. So you guys are just kind of getting a little bit of a preview about some of the talking points that I'm going to have in that demonstration. So let's look down here at a couple other samples. And this is something that I'm really excited to show you. Now, in these little cups, I have samples of a bunch of different finishes. These would be better back here. It's better on a lighter surface. Let's readjust. Sorry. On the fly. Okay. So I have a bunch of different oil-based products ranging from straight oils to oil-based varnishes and wiping varnishes. And what I did was I put about 2 tablespoons of each one, and I'm just letting it cure. And what I want to end up with is a solid little tiny cube or brick of the resin that's left over. So if we let that cure fully, we can actually feel the resin and get a feel for how hard or soft it is. So something like a marine spar varnish, for instance, like this Minwax, or a higher quality product like Epiphanes, that leftover resin should be quite pliable because outdoor finishes need to be flexible. Compare that to maybe the Minwax Poly. That's something that should be, in theory, a little bit harder because that's an interior finish and you've got the durability, but you also have a hardness because you don't necessarily have the temperature and humidity swings that you would have outside. So it can afford to be harder.
Eric wants to know if those are baby food containers. No, they are. That's my Tupperware.
That's Tupperware that you weren't supposed to notice. But they're just perfect
I
for
always
this.
notice.
I like these. I owe you some though. I'll go to Walmart later.
That's all right.
So what I wanted to show you is how a lot of people get confused about what is actually in the formulation, right? And they think that these things contain oil, like an oil varnish blend, when in fact they really don't. So let me get the cans for you to show you how flippin' confusing it can be. So this is Armor Seal, and it says oil and urethane top coat. And I think most people would read that and say, oh, that's an oil varnish blend. And if you know what an oil varnish blend is, it's basically if you take, a pure can of varnish or even polyurethane and mix it with a little bit of boiled linseed oil or something. That's what we think of when we think of oil varnish blends. That's not what this is. This is just wiping varnish, all right? The product is derived from an oil, but there is no oil being added at the last step, so this is gonna dry quickly, which an oil varnish blend would not. This is Danish oil. Danish oil is actually a true oil varnish blend, and it acts that way, right? And we'll look at our samples, and I'll show you in a minute why. Waterlocks, this is just one of their products, is also a wiping varnish. But if you read the labeling and it says handmade from tung oil, that's actually a way better way to word it. It is made from tung oil. Whereas this is saying oil and urethane. Well, it was made from oil, but there's no oil in that final mixture. Now, the way we know is by looking at how these things cure. Okay, so here's boiled linseed oil. And if you take a close look at that, this was maybe 4 days ago. It's still pure liquid. There's no solidifying going on here. This is Danish oil. That is a fairly dilute mixture of oil with some varnish, some resin, right? And that is still pure liquid.
Eric wants to know, can you poly over Danish oil?
Yes, if you let the Danish oil cure long enough.
Yeah.
Now the rest of these are all versions of some type of varnish, wiping varnish with no oil added to that final mixture. And you could see by looking at them, we're starting to get curing, right? There's no pure liquid. It is gooey, and basically you're looking at a hardened top layer where the air was able to get to first. So that hardened top layer is now protecting the gooier stuff underneath. But over time, that will solidify into a solid piece of resin. Look at the Minwax Spar, nice and smooth. That one is solidifying very quickly. You've got your Minwax Wipe on Poly. Okay, that's, again, solid, but still, there's goo under that top layer. And same thing with the Armor Seal. All right, so it will take a while for these things to completely cure, but when they get there, we will actually have hard little discs from these guys. The best we're gonna get here, the boiled linseed oil, will turn into sludge of some sort, and that it's gonna take a long time to get there. And the Danish oil will be sludge, but maybe a little firmer. It'll have a little bit more curing going on. There is resin in there, all right? But this is just an example of showing you what you see on the label, on the can, does not necessarily indicate what's actually going to happen on the surface when you use it. It's very deceiving. And frankly, it angers me. Deceptive marketing practices. Not that it's really deceptive. I love the people at General Finishes. They've always been really good to us, and I do love their products. But I really do have a problem when, a label is designed to confuse. And maybe that's not their intention.
No, it's marketing. It's
because here's the thing, you will sell more of something if it says oil. It's this sort of hand rubbed, more attention. It's more of a,
Mike wants to
for
know,
the love of the process.
Mike wants to know, how does all of that compare to the shellac finish?
Well, shellac is kind of like another type of varnish. It's just using shellac as the resin.
It's
and
candied, right?
Well, they do put it on candy, sure.
Yeah.
But instead of having a synthetic resin of some sort, you are using shellac as your resin, and it's dissolved in ethanol. But when it's all said and done,
where does shellac come from?
lac bugs, beetles.
Oh.
It's an excrement.
Ew.
So they actually collect it off of trees.
Yeah.
They believe they harvest the branches, and then they get the lac right off of there, and then they process it into different levels of purity for various industries. It's kind of a neat process.
That's cool.
So it's a more natural product. But in the end, you're still left, when all the evaporation is done, you're still left with a layer of a type of resin on the surface, which is what some of these synthetic resins are doing. So, it's kind of interesting. And I guess... Yeah.
I just finished my stuff with bug poop.
Bug poo, yeah, it's not poop.
I know,
it's an excrement. I'm not exactly sure if it's like a gland that
kind of like a silkworm, maybe.
Yeah, but everyone thinks that it's bug poop, and it's not actually poop.
No.
So yeah, I mean, does this stuff bother you guys as much as it does me? I guess because I have to answer these questions all the time. And great example, I posted some things as I'm going through this process, and the amount of misunderstanding and misinformation from people who actually sound like they should know what they're talking about. They go like, oh, well, you know, Danish oil is just boiled linseed oil and thinner. You don't need to blah, blah, blah. I can make your own. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like, this stuff is so much more complicated than you think it is. And it isn't like I can just go get a full strength Waterlox and dilute it myself to save money. Like, this is all that's available. So if you go buy any particular varnish, it doesn't mean that that varnish is the same stuff they used before they diluted it. You know? So I mean, these products are really good, and they're all sort of
proprietary.
They're proprietary formulations that are really tricky to replicate.
Yeah.
But there's so much misunderstanding about what these finishes actually are.
And it probably adds to why people don't like doing the finishing, not just the sanding part of it, but understanding.
Well, because you go to buy something and you expect it to behave one way, and then it behaves another because you thought it was an oil varnish blend. So you're taking your time and applying it slowly because you know you have a lot of time to work. And you go, this is not an oil varnish blend. It's drying in 5 minutes. You know, within 5 minutes. What am I supposed to do with this? You know, and that's the confusing part about it. It's misleading. A lot of people are also like, why don't you do like Rubio monocoat? Well, Rubio monocoat is an oil finish. It's
is that a politician?
No, that's a different guy. Although that would be a great nickname for him, monocoat. But it's a different product. It's a different classification of products. So I'm only looking at wiping varnishes here. But again, people don't understand that. They think a lot of these are oil varnish blends, and they're just not. Yeah. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I've been collecting questions. I just been letting you do your thing.
Oh, I'm done now.
Because I felt like you had something to like get off your chest.
Well, I got something to get off my chest.
He's been working on this.
A whole bunch of hair
He's been
needs to
working
get
on
off my
this for
chest.
like all week.
Yeah, well, now I'm actually at the point where these are going to sit and cure for a couple of weeks. Then we do the torture tests.
Gotcha. All right. So Taylor's Wood said, I heard you say a lot of times use a high quality sandpaper. It lasts longer, better results, etc. But what paper do you use and what is good quality?
Well, you know, there's a couple of brands out there, but there are also other brands I'm not even aware of. Marc is good for abrasives. The Norton abrasives, a little bit pricey, but they're pretty good too. I think I even have, let's see what I have in here. Yeah, I got some Norton 3X. Actually, that's all I have in regular paper is Norton, so those are pretty good. I don't know if this dude still sells his stuff, but I use this all the time. It's a little bit of a luxury in the sanding world, but Epic Wood. These are the little two-sided sanding sheets. I love these. It's super convenient and they work really well. It's great quality sandpaper, so check those guys out. I hope they're still in business, but they sent me some samples. I've been using them for about a year now. They're fantastic.
Epiwood?
Epic, E-P-O-C-H.
Oh, okay.
And, what is the other big brand? There's another big name. Klingspor, I think? Bottom line is don't buy the cheapest stuff, you know, and you'll be okay.
I don't know if we want to talk about this because it's such a inside baseball.
I don't know. I need to know what it is.
So Philip Morley Furniture, would you be able to talk about monetized videos versus sponsorship? We're just starting to venture down that road.
What is the difference between just turning on
ads? Because monetized videos, you just turn on
AdSense?
I guess.
I don't know how much to go into with that. I mean, they're very different things. One just puts a pre-roll or a post-roll or a mid-roll on here that you don't have any control over.
Yeah, YouTube does all that.
And the other, a sponsorship is a definitive sort of agreement between you and another company.
A contract between you and a company to say, this video is sponsored. And someone in the chat room mentioned the Making It podcast, and they talk about that all the time. So
do they?
They do. Maybe not all the time, but they've gone into that topic
a
lot.
Yeah,
the business side of it.
And look at the Wood Talk Weekend Show. Sometimes on the Weekend Show, we go into discussing things. In fact, a couple weeks ago, I think we did a discussion about advertising and sponsorships. So go take a look at that.
Yeah. Alex wants to know, first bandsaw purchase, Laguna 14BX or go for an 18. Hi, Millie. May need to resaw large stuff later, but even at an 18 might not get it done. Better just to pay someone to resaw and go for the 14?
That's these questions
She's
are
over
really.
here farting again. You just.
How do you know it's her? It's kind of a hard question to answer. That's a value proposition. It's up to the individual. For me, I don't like to pay anybody to cut anything.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to do anything on a routine basis, I'd rather have the tool myself to do it. So I say go for the 18, and then anything beyond that, if you do need to pay somebody, go pay somebody. Or I mean, how much bigger do you really need? What are we cutting here? Logs? Because if that's the case, then maybe just save up till you can get the saw you really need. I like to be self-sufficient, so that's where I'm coming from with that.
Let's see. Jeff wants to know, I've heard that if you want a satin finish, you should use a high gloss until the top coat because the clouding agents will dull the finish if there are too many satin coats. Thoughts?
That's certainly possible. My suggestion is to try it out. A lot of times that is one of those overblown things that's not that big of a deal if you actually look at it on the surface. What I have down here are 3 coats of satin. I didn't do 2 coats of poly and then finish with a coat of satin. The finish looks fine. I was going for a satin look anyway, so 3 layers of satin finish produce a satin finish. If you want maybe a little bit less of that satin finish, let's say fewer flatteners in the mix, then yeah, layer on the poly and put your final coat of satin on top, and you'll find that that's going to have a little bit more of a sheen than the other. I mean, my point is, if you are going with satin or semi-gloss, you want to dull the finish. So the fact that it gets a little bit dull and doesn't have the same clarity as gloss, that's the point. So I'm not too worried about it. I think it becomes more of an issue if you're layering on, 5 to 6 brushed on coats. Okay, then maybe you want to go with gloss for the first couple and then switch to satin so you have a little bit more grain clarity. But I think when we're in the classification of wipe-on finishes, I don't think it makes much practical difference at all.
Charlie said, is there a book that demystifies all these finishes? No.
Yeah, it's called thewoodwhisperer.com. No, the thing is, if you get a finishing book...
Well, yeah, your finishing book, does it go into that?
I might, but I wouldn't want to recommend that as like an end-all resource.
Right.
If you go to a general finishing book, you're gonna find out about stains, you're gonna find out about lacquer, shellac. It's not gonna focus just on this, which is why a lot of times when I do these topics, I try to be the guy who demystifies this stuff with things that I've learned from those other people. You may find a chapter in the book that goes into some of those details, but nothing, I don't think you're going to find anything that goes to this level of focusing on this type of finish. You could do this in any category. We could talk about lacquers and how different types of lacquer work, but that's only if you're interested in spraying lacquer. I'm focusing on this because this is what most people are doing, in home shops. They're getting oil-based finishes and applying them by hand. So that's why we focus on this. But honestly, no, I don't think there's any print publication that's going to go into this kind of detail on the practical differences. You might find, I think Fine Woodworking did a Wiping Varnish Shootout review, and it gives all different types of information about those different finishes, but it's very technical. I'm looking at a very practical approach here from, an everyday woodworker sort of perspective.
Peppercock wants to know
Peppercock?
how would you properly fill in the pores in walnut? Timbermate, right?
You could use Timbermate as a wood filler. There's, different formulations of wood filler. There's Aqua Coat, I think it's called, which is a clear wood filler. Wood filling is a whole different, area to discuss. There's a couple different ways you can do it, whether you seal the wood before, then apply the filler, or fill it first, sand it back, then seal on top of that. A lot of different methodologies. I wouldn't say there's only one right way to do it, but, there's a couple different ways. You could look at my website at the rubbing out a high gloss finish. I did a video on that on the humidor project that I did, and there's a pore filling process shown in that one using Timbermate.
Accurate Ways wants to know, how much would it cost to go fishing with you? There has to be a number.
Well,
little known fact, Marc's first job was packing worms in a fishing and tackle shop.
Yeah, my grandfather owned a fish and tackle store in Trenton, New Jersey before the Walmarts and the big sports centers killed the business. He actually retired before that happened. But my whole family was pretty much supported by a fish and tackle store, Andy's Sporting Goods in Trenton. And that's where I worked. My first job, packing worms.
Packing worms.
Fixing reels.
Yeah.
Was one of my earlier jobs. It was Good time. So yeah, how much for me to go fishing? I don't know. What would be the price for that?
The problem is,
Fishing is
because we
fun.
get so many nice offers to say, hey, come here, come do that. If you have small children, you know it's really hard to get away.
It's almost not even about the money.
No,
it's
not
about,
even. It's about
can I justify being away for a couple of days? You know.
Yeah.
Well, like there's a big meetup and wood show coming up in Atlanta.
Right.
And a lot of the YouTube folks are going to be there.
Yeah.
And I got a couple of emails like, hey, you gonna be there? And it's like, it's so hard for me to do that. And it's not even about money, but if the paycheck is big enough. Then
$1 million.
$1 million.
Just say
then I could justify being away from the family for that period of time.
being away from the shop, and then even because if it was enough money, I could probably fly my mom here or your mom
To
here
help out.
to help out.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not just Marc. It's not single guy Marc. It's
there's a whole.
there's like a whole.
Well, anybody who has a family and kids and stuff
Yeah.
knows exactly what we're talking about.
But
So,
I
yeah,
just always
would
feel
love to.
I always feel bad when we get nice offers to go have a beer or
Yeah.
like.
Well, it's not a big deal, but we're going to, I think I have a conversation with Lee Valley today.
Yeah.
Asked if I'd be interested in coming out to, I guess, Niagara Falls to do an interview. Not be interviewed, but interview someone else. And they're like, how much would you charge for that? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
it's more of a question. Do I feel like being out of town on that
Yeah.
particular day?
Yeah.
Then how much money is it worth it for me?
Well, and just what else is going on
Yeah.
with the family.
Anyway,
so.
enough about us.
Anyway, poor you.
Let's go have a Wood Whisper fishing trip. That sounds good.
Peter wants to know, have you played around with baking thermo curing woods?
Nope.
I just started doing it in my oven with maple, and the results are crazy cool.
I have not done anything like that. I'm afraid to put wood in my oven.
Yeah.
You might draw the line.
I'm going to draw the line. I mean,
Cannot use the oven for curing.
how about you just use your oven, your
You
smoker
give me a
in the
little
back?
easy bake oven for curing the wood. Little tiny pieces. Cookies are ready. Yeah, no. But that sounds cool, but I haven't done that.
Novacane009 wants to know, what speed are your jigsaw cuts sped up to in your videos, i.e. the trestle table video? Did you speed those up?
At least 4, and especially when cutting cross grain, which 2 of those cuts were, you got to go slow. Let that bit do its job, let it clear, and if you don't go slow, you push it too much, especially on the jigsaw, you're going to make that blade skew one way or the other, which could be really, really bad. So if you don't give it time to do its job as you're pushing it through, you could have all kinds of problems. So I go pretty slow.
Low and slow.
Low and slow.
Speaking of low and slow, what kind of smoker do you have?
I have a Kamado grill. It's a Primo grill that you can use for smoking. It's not the most convenient way to do it, but it is a good way because it's really, really fuel efficient. And I have an electric smoker just because I thought it was cool and it would be fun to play with. I know it's not like pure barbecue to a lot of people, but talk about fuel efficient. Holy crap. I mean, you could cook a couple racks of ribs, multiple racks of ribs, with maybe like 2 chunks of hardwood, and that's it. And it's plenty of smoke. So I like those too. I've got a built-in gas grill that I could smoke with if I really wanted to like deal with that, but I don't find that very fun.
Frapsody wants to know, have you noticed any differences between Phoenix and Denver on your woodworking, effects on the wood, tools?
No differences whatsoever yet.
It's
really
dry.
Really dry here. In fact, I think it's been on average drier here than it would be in Arizona at this time. So
yeah.
So for now, no, absolutely no differences.
It's kind of I wasn't expecting.
Well, how many people said, "Oh, you got to get ready for rust," and it's like, well, there may be a season here that we have to be prepared for rust, but it is dry as a bone.
Yeah, it's interesting. Let's see. From Jacob Brown, what projects would you recommend for a novice woodworker that just started a small woodworking business?
What advice for a novice woodworker who started a woodworking business?
Yeah. What projects would you recommend? I mean, there's some.
Okay. This is going to make.
There's like 2 things.
Well, hold up.
on.
This is going to make me sound a little bit like Shannon.
Oh.
Okay?
Shannon, where are you?
You guys know what's coming, right? my question is, and I don't mean to derail this,
Yeah.
but there's something that's a little bit of a mismatch there.
Novice woodworker.
Why is a novice woodworker starting a woodworking business?
Yeah.
No, I don't mean that to be offensive, but
Maybe it's like a side
business?
Like, yeah, a side.
because
Like
here's the
he's
thing:
just starting up.
as a novice woodworker, you make a lot of mistakes. To me, when you are a self-professed novice, that's the time to build things for friends, family, people who might be a little understanding of your mistakes, allow
and
you
the,
to,
and the time it takes for you to make it.
and it'll allow you to learn while building useful projects for people. Building it as an actual business means you are now taking money, giving someone a product that as a novice, it may have problems and you have to warranty that work. To me, a novice woodworker jumping into a business sounds like a really bad recipe. You could end up in, even potentially legal problems with that, depending on what you're trying to do. And secondarily, if you don't even know what projects to build, you may not necessarily have thought about what your woodworking business is. So sit down and think about a plan. Try to come up with that answer. I could tell you all kinds of things, but I don't know what sells on like a craft show level.
Well, especially in your region.
Yeah.
So what would sell in California, San Diego, may not sell in middle Missouri.
Yeah.
Or
how much you can get for them. If you, if it takes you 3 days to make a beautiful end grain cutting board, but you can only get $30 for it, that's probably not worth your time, right? So maybe not that. So anyway, there's a little bit. I'm like a little bit concerned for you in this situation. I don't have enough information to say whether it's risky or not. But from what you've told me, it just sounds like you might need to sit down, think about a business plan about what your woodworking business is going to do, and as a novice, how you can continue to do that safely without extreme liability coming down on your head. It just makes me a little bit nervous. But look around. There are lots of items out there.
There's
Look
so
at Craftsy, not Craftsy, Pinterest. Look at some Pinterest boards.
Well, even I always want to call him Drunken Woodworker. You will forever be Drunken Woodworker.
Dave Picciuto.
Yeah, Dave
makes
Picciuto.
something.
He has some amazing
He makes
videos.
great products that I think are in that category.
Him and his wife both
fairly quick to make and
are
will probably sell.
And they are like masters of the craft fair. So if you have not checked out David Picciuto's videos, go over there, take a look.
Make something TV?
Yeah, make something. He talks about like the whole what you should be charging. He goes into the kind of that formula. He's all about that. So there's some good information over there. And you may start just building stuff, and then you may stumble upon like something that you might have built just as a throwaway, but for whatever reason,
it catches on.
It catches on, and people love it.
You know what a good recommendation is? If I wasn't doing all this and I needed to come up with a revenue stream, I've talked to a few people who do this, and I think it's fantastic. Find one of the best realtors in your area and talk to them about possibly being their sole supplier for custom cutting boards. The reason being, a real successful realtor likes to give housewarming gifts.
Yeah.
And if they can give a custom-made, really gorgeous cutting board to a new homeowner, that's great. And the guy that we bought our house from, the seller's realtor, is our neighbor next door. And our realtor is really good in this area. And if I wasn't doing all this stuff, I would probably approach both of them and say, hey, how about some custom, home goods?
Well, she gave me a custom wooden Christmas ornament. And I was like, oh my God, that's such a neat, thoughtful gift.
Yeah, so it's kind of an
With
outside
our
the box
house
thing.
on it.
But try to find like who are the top realtors in your area and just give them a call and see if you
They're
can work
always
something
looking
out.
for something unique.
That's for anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
All right,
Look
what's
at that.
next?
Hopefully
I didn't come across negative to that.
No, I don't think. I think it's a very realistic approach.
It's like if I came and you said, look, I'm a novice repair guy.
Yeah.
I'm a novice mechanic, so I'm going to start my own auto body shop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's something.
Yeah.
There's a disconnect.
So I want to tell you a funny story. So I grew up in the Midwest, middle Missouri, and there, for whatever reason, I don't know. I remember pretty much when you grow up in the Midwest, you drive everywhere, and it was a thing.
I thought you ride horses everywhere.
No, it was a thing. There was a local craftsperson that would make these giant plywood cutouts of butts.
Oh yeah, like the old lady bending
the
over.
old lady bending
in the
over.
garden, yeah.
They were freaking everywhere.
Yeah, those are classic.
They're everywhere. And it was just like, this guy was making bank over these butts. So
Making bank on butts, baby. Did he have one of me with black hairy wigs on it?
no. But that made me think of, like, you never know what's going to take hold in the community, and for whatever reason, these big old butts,
Yeah,
everybody bought them.
that's fantastic. Can we get one for our house? Okay, last question. We're over our time here. Let's get one more.
Let's see. Do we have anything else?
I do like the low latency stream, though, don't you?
Yeah, I do too.
I see people responding to things we're talking about. It's working out much better. One more question.
Did I skip anything? Finn says, Mark, I'm 14 and thinking of a new table saw. What should I get, a job site or a contractor? 14.
Well, if you have the choice of the two, I would put a contractor saw above a job site saw in general quality, usefulness, and power, and things like that. At 14, though, I don't know what other tools you have, what other tools you might need. You can get away with a simple contractor saw. You could build a little table to house it, so you have some in-feed or out-feed and side support, extra support for it. So you can get away with the smaller saw, and especially at 14, if your budget is really tight or your parents are helping you out, it may be more of, how do I get my full complement of tools sooner? And if that's the case, go with the contract or the the smaller portable saw.
But is it safer than the contractor saw?
It depends on the saw. I mean, if used properly, it should be fine. But a lot of times, the more portable they are, the more flimsy some of the parts can be.
Wiggly they are.
A contractor saw is going to be a little bit more
Tell your
sturdy.
mom that the contractor saw is safer.
Yeah, I mean, it might. You could make that argument that it would be safer because the parts are likely to be a little bit more robust. But that said, it's not that you can't use one of the portable saws and still get good results and use it safely. I'm just thinking more a kid who actually wants to build stuff who will need more than just that saw. Where are we putting our budget dollars?
Yeah.
So.
Wonder if, do you have local, like, shops that you can share space with too? I mean, you're still learning, so there might be maybe save your money up and do more of those share spaces.
Yeah,
but you might not have access to that too.
But he wants to buy a saw.
I know he does.
You're telling him to go somewhere else.
I'm telling him to go to
He wants to build his own shop, and you're saying go find someone else's shop. Okay, one more question, and we'll cut it
all
off.
right. Okay. Kevin wants to know, what's your favorite plywood brand?
I don't have one.
You don't?
I wouldn't.
Is there even? Do they have brands?
I think like Pure Bond.
Yeah, didn't we
Is that
have?
General Pacific or something Pacific?
Yeah, didn't we have a
We had a connection with the folks at Pure Bond.
Pure Bond?
But other than that, because they approached me, I don't even think about plywood brands.
Right.
It's just not even something you come across. It's like, get good plywood from a good retailer, a good source, and who knows what the brand actually is. So do you guys know what plywood brands you buy? And Pure Bond is one of the only ones that you just see like stamped on the side. So it's,
Who was
really obvious.
Was that the company that helped you out with the cabinets?
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
The Cabinage people use Pure Bond plywood.
There you go, Cabinage.
But yeah, I don't think much about plywood brands. It's just not on my radar.
Do you have Patreon stuff? So just to kind of give you an idea.
You talk and I'll do it.
So I was about to turn, and then I got sick.
Oh, the turning project?
Yeah, so you need to get my turning station set up so I can turn that bowl.
Okay.
So I can pick somebody to send it to.
All right. So here we go. This is a thank you to folks who helped us out on Patreon, patreon.com/woodwhisperer. Leonid Mateyev, Michael Roberts, Kevin Zirith, Brian Lurch, Thomas Rohrbach, Dane Armentrout, Harry, John Clapp, Rob, James Esper, and David Nealette. Excuse me, God, I'm all burpy right now. What's going on? Thank you so much, folks, for helping us out with that.
It's your appendix.
It's my appendix going, oh, I got a fart? Nope, just my appendix. So yeah, thank you so much for helping out. The Patreon stuff is awesome. We love the fact that you guys are jumping in and helping support free content. That's going to be our new slogan.
No.
No?
No.
Okay. We're not going to say that. That was a bad idea. But seriously, that's what you're doing. You're helping.
Yeah, we're doing this because of you guys.
Yeah, and it is one of those things that, I don't know, it's just encouraging, right?
Hey, I got my appendix taken out 5 days ago, and
And
here,
you're sitting in this chair,
hanging out with
talking to you guys while we have mounting medical bills.
Oh my God.
Please help. No, I'm just kidding.
No. But it is fun. It is funny though. I went to the ER twice because
Yeah.
they discharged me on that day, and the lady went to go because our ER visits are $500 deductible, and I said I don't have $500 to give you on the second one.
Yeah, well, the first one came in. I'm sitting at home and I'm like, typing away. Boop, low balance warning, Bank of America. I was like, oh, they were fast, man. They're
Yeah,
like,
they
oh,
were.
she's in here. Let's process the credit
Yeah.
card right now.
So, and I was like, I don't have another $500 for you.
Yeah, medical stuff.
But thankfully, when they admit you, it does something different.
Well,
I'm
hey.
sure the shakedown will happen.
It will happen, and don't worry, insurance for everybody.
Yes.
That's what I choose to believe.
Yeah. Hooray for
I guarantee
insurance.
it. All right, thanks everybody.
Hey, thanks.
Let me see if that record thing does it again.
Yep.
What is up with that? That's lame
Weird.
sauce. Well, then I guess I better let this run so it goes to the full ending.
Travis said that's GoFundMe, not Patreon.
Oh, that's all right. Let me start my GoFundMe campaign. Support Nicole's appendix.
No. We have insurance
For now.
for now.